Do you want me to do a lot of, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Every now and then I'll surprise you.
Welcome to the Spoken Word Review video. This is our very first interview video that we're going to do, and we are here at Right Bloody, the actual brick and mortar bookstore in Austin, Texas. And we're drinking Lone Stars with Derrick Brown. Cheers. This is a part of his Free Beer Friday.
That's right, it's the end of Free Beer Friday. The darkness has come. People have left, and the cupcakes are stale.
They're still good.
I still ate them.
Yeah, me too. Well, part of the reason we're here today, we're going to do an interview, but also to advertise the fact that the store is closing down.
Yes, December 22nd, 2013.
Okay. And that's not just a sad date, that's going to be a big fucking party. Is what it's
Absolutely.
New
New Orleans style funeral party with 3 live bands. Cornhole contest, you have to come to see what that is. And tournament. And then we're having a drinking contest. I will be involved in that. And then we're having a gizzard eating contest also.
Wow. What inspired the gizzard eating?
I don't know what they taste like. So
Never had one.
I thought that'd be fun. We did a taco eating contest last time. So gizzard seems fun.
But you'd had a taco before you did the taco.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's
gizzard.
Yeah. It's adventure time now. Balls out.
Oh.
Give it all.
Wow. Okay. So what is the New Orleans style, funeral style? Like what exactly is that?
Well, those funerals are more of a kind of a celebration, and so will this be kind of a celebration. We gave it a shot for a year trying to brick and mortar with a small press, and we want to let people know, hey, a lot of good came out of it, where we met all of these small presses that came in and brought in their local lit, and we got to put on shows with other presses and hire other small presses to do work for us, and trained other small presses like Timber Mouse on some tips, and so it was super beneficial, just not financially solvent.
Beneficial. And you guys have been open for a year now?
Over a year, yes.
Wow. Well, congratulations for lasting that long.
We did it.
And you
a
felt
woman's
like...
never said that to me.
What? For lasting that long?
Thank you.
I find that hard to believe, Derrick.
Thank you.
I find that hard to believe.
Appreciate it.
So, and Austin was good to you, though?
It is. I'm not leaving. I'm going to die here. Maybe that day. We'll see.
Maybe the gizzard...
December 22nd.
The gizzard eating contest will...
It could be like a G.G. Allen thing where I'm like, I will die December 22nd. Come witness it. And then, you know, I just sneak away. Who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? Okay. But yeah, it's going to be a big party and you're going to have everything discounted, right?
Well, everything's discounted
It
now
already is.
until November 30th. And then the discount stops and I just drop all the prices. And if someone comes and says, hey man, I'll give you $1 for this coffee mug, I'll be like, well, alright. You need it more than I do.
So that's the time, December 22nd. If you're in Austin, you've got
If
to
there's
hit
anything
Right
left, I'm hoping the people will buy stuff before then, and wrap them up as presents. We've got a lot of stuff beyond books here.
Oh, it's fantastic. So many things that they have here.
Look at that beer bottle opener that's solid gold. Look at that coffee mug that's also, you could beat up someone
This
with.
is my favorite. It's the Fisticup.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a big seller.
It is a good seller.
I want to pour my beer in it right now, actually. But things like this are all over the place.
It's a magical place.
Pee my pants, wet wipes.
Yeah, great friends like you make me pee my pants. I wrote all those wet wipes. I noticed you've been busting your ass. That's why you smell like hard work. Everybody likes you to your face, but behind your back, they like you even more.
You wrote all those?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
Actually, that my friend Kristen helped me write that one, but
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Kristen?
yeah, she lets me riff. She's good.
And Kristen will keep up to us, right? But
Yeah.
that's
She's
who
going to
we-
get drunk for the first time on December 22nd. So that should be exciting. See, she's never been drunk.
You're kidding me.
She may not, but I'm hoping she will.
Wow. I want to come contribute to that.
Yeah.
At the very least.
I think we'd trick her. And say, oh my God, this wheatgrass is so good. You're going to love it. And we get her.
That's awesome.
She doesn't want to drink because she's worried that she'll lose control. And that what if someone needs a ride home and she can't do it? I was like, oh man, that is a dilemma I have every day. And I solve it by just drinking anyways.
She's from New York. She knows where.
Yeah, Philly and New York.
She knows how to hail a cab.
She does.
She should be fine.
Yeah.
She should be fine. So how many artists did you say you ended up having here?
In the shop we have 50 titles.
Titles.
And we've put out, now as of this fall, we've put out 100 titles in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's actually too much, to be honest. You know, you should, if you're a single person ran press, which we are, I'm still sole proprietor, I still do everything, and then I have a couple interns help with some things, and then hire proofreaders, editors, and graphic designers for the covers. But you should only put out like 4. And the fact that we've been doing 8 to 12 every year, one year we did 18, that was, or 16, that was stupid.
Wow.
But you get this buzz where you kind of, you see this manuscript, you're like, all right, we're just going to put it out. As long as you tour, as long as you put together your website and press it and are willing to do the work, we're finishing the books, not a lot of work. Doing all the other stuff after is a lot of work. If they agree, I kind of feel a buzz and I want to do it. And I've realized now that I'm older that I got to slow that buzz down.
Pace yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it's a killer, you know. My joy was killing me. So I have to curb it.
But you're still touring and performing.
That's how I stay alive. That's how I make most of the money that I make from writing.
That helps keep Right Bloody alive to a degree.
It helped me writing for a kid show helped kick off the press. We didn't need a loan, and then
it was for Kidmo, right?
Yeah,
right?
and then later we asked a friend for a loan when it was distribution time, and the distributor said, "We're going to take you on, Right Bloody." I was like, "International distribution for all the books? That's awesome!" And they said, "Yes, and we need $20,000 worth of books in our warehouse." And I was like, "Oh God." We've never had that. So, banks, not interested in supporting a poetry press. So I went to a friend, and she was like, cool, here's a big bunch of money. We finally paid it off 3 years later. That feels good, too.
Wow, I bet.
Yes.
So that, I mean, in the end, the store closing down really has nothing to do with how successful Right Bloody has been.
Yeah, the store only made about 4% of what Right Bloody makes because it barely broke even every month, except last year around Christmas time it did really good. So I'm hoping this December we can jam again. We'll see.
Have a big blowout. But yeah, so most of it still exists online. So even though you're closing this down, Right Bloody will continue to live on and publish more poets.
Yeah, we're going to go back and exist the way we used to, which was online and have touring authors and put on good live shows.
Nice. And what is the submission process like for poets trying to become a Right Bloody author at this point?
Well, normally the submission process is that you submit 3 poems. You try and show some range, and then we have 12 editors vote using a computer program called Submittable on which were their favorites, and then those top 25 are asked to submit a full 40-poem manuscript, and then they also have to submit a YouTube video of them reading it. It can be on a couch, it can be at a live performance, but it's kind of to see, like, are you annoying? Are you going to bum out an audience so much that they're not going to buy your book? And that's not because, like, oh, I don't want to hang out with annoying people. It's more that, hey, you will be your worst enemy if no one has ever told you that you do these tics. If you don't have friends around you that will tell you that you are doing something bad, then that is someone that's not ready to be published for our press. So we make them submit the video, and then everyone votes on the manuscripts, and if it's tied, then we use the video to break the ties, you know, just choose who the 6 will be. This year, we're not going to do a submission contest. that's because I need to get my mind back and dive into my own writing. So I'm just going to ask my authors, saying like, hey, have you ran into anybody that's good, that doesn't seem crazy? And if they say, oh yeah, this person's got their shit together, then I'll go, okay, I'll email them and ask them for a manuscript. So we're doing that for the next year.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So do you feel like having Write Bloody as a publishing house, like when you decided to create it, how has that affected your art and trying to run both of them, trying to do it all at the same time? Were you ever worried that if you were to do something like this that you wouldn't keep writing, keep performing?
I wasn't worried at first, but I think everyone who dives into it should be. There's a lot of things I didn't know about, that once you get the ball rolling, really rolling, that it is so much work that most authors will never see unless they come here or hang out with me for a week. No one has time to do that. So like a couple people understand it, like Mindy Netafee, one of our authors, Kristen Gaptowitz, gets it. And luckily they help spread the gospel, saying like, hey, have some patience. Remember, whenever you get mad that there's no one flying you out, realize that it's one dude for this thing trying to pull it off. And trying to pull it off as low budget as possible, because there's not a lot of money in poetry. But I tell every author, I said, man, you gotta try and get published, because once you have a book out, you can apply for grants and apply for residencies and sell something valuable on the road that's better than selling a chapbook that you staple up at Kinko's, because it'll make 3 times as much. And to push it and do all that, I realized I was getting a thrill out of helping people learn how I used to do it, and the more energy I was pumping into that, the more my writing was going on the back burner. And still getting a thrill out of pumping up folks, but I didn't realize that this weird tugging, you know, you've got like a jar full of creative juice, and you can pour it into your job, into your relationship, and then into your writing, and there's only a little bit left. If you ever go away to a residency, you're pouring all of your energy into your writing. And I realized that I was only having about that much juice for my writing, and it wasn't that good. And I felt most alive when I was, you know, doing a little bit of job, some relationship, and a lot of creative juice. And so I'm trying to get back to that.
So what's your next, what's your plan? What's your next project for you then?
My next project is to try and bring poetry and branch it out into new forms. Right now, I've done some rock and roll stuff with touring with bands, in some indie rock bands in Europe and the U.S., opening up for them. And now I'm going to try open up for some comedians that have been gracious enough to invite me, and see how it goes, see if I bum them out. But so that starts in December. I go with Eugene Merman and Kurt Braunohler for a tour up the East Coast. And then I'm going to do some sketch comedy with a local comedian from Your Terrific Neighbors named Curtis Luciani. And we're taking some poetic styles of writing and some comedy and shooting these sketches for French Kiss TV. And that project's called Shrink Wrap. And that's a new thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you perform with comedians, would you be opening for them?
Yes, I would be the opening act. And I even asked them, I said, hey, should I pitch myself as a spoken word comedian, as a poet, as an author? What isn't going to bum out your audience? And they said, well, we'll just say poet, because you know, most poets will just yell and do a kind of voice, and the fact that you're kind of talking to the audience is cool. So maybe it'll change some minds. I was like, oh, that's a great goal. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I hope it goes good.
Because I know it was a challenge for you to open up for bands, and you've opened up for bands like Wilco.
I was in a book with Wilco, did a show with Nico Case's band, and then toured with Kohler Kids, did a festival with Animal Collective and Flaming Lips and David Cross, and he's been a great. He seems like such a curmudgeon, but he is such a giving dude about like, hey, yeah, come open up at this show. He's really nice about trying creative new stuff that he doesn't know if it'll work or not.
Hmm.
That was helpful.
That has to come with a whole new set of challenges. You've got an audience there that's ready to see a band. They're ready to hear a lot of noise and see a lot of things going on stage, and then there's you.
It's a great lesson. Because when you're writing, you don't think about that possibly happening. You're just saying like, that feels fresh. And then
Is that how you say
all of a sudden you look at your body of work when it's time to go on stage and you feel, okay, I can't do a 5-minute poem to go out there. I can't do a heavy poem because I got to get to know me. And I got to do maybe 1 or 2 shortish poems. And you start to learn audiences. And I realized that it would work with dates too. If you sat a writer down at a table on a first date and they said, the date says to them, what are you going to order? And they said, when the cancer set in, I realized that I had to fight. And then the person would be like, hey, right, I will have the caprese. You can't force your hand too quick, which you realize when you're doing something opening for a band. You've got to let them get to know you for a second. Talk to them. You can't be in performance mode or whatever. You've got to seem real and natural, or they won't trust you. And also, if they shit on you, which is heckling and all that, they kind of want you to fight for your time on stage to prove that you should be up there, not them. That you sat down and thought about these things and tried to make it as good as possible and edited it, and that it should be you and not them. So they want you to fight, and so that means like standing your ground for a little bit. Where a couple of shows like Amsterdam, when they started yelling, I was like, okay, you guys don't want this? All right, good night. And I got off stage early and the band wasn't ready to go on. And I was like, well, they'll play house music. And they're like, no, we need energy to get going. And you kind of crushed all the energy. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to fight to stay on stage when things aren't going well. And not be like arrogant, like, you're going to end up liking this. Be like, okay, you don't like this. I'm not reading you right. Let me move on to something else. That's different than some heckling that you need to fight and stand your ground.
Did you end up becoming pretty good with the heckling process?
I got better. I got better where you start addressing hecklers in a rude way, you know, and you start being like, yeah, well, you're stupid and your face is fucked. It's not clever, it's just anger, and you're mad at them, and they're not that mad at you, but they're fucking with you. So it is, what is more clever is to come at them with kindness and then shit all over them. And then the audience will respect you for looking like you're in control, like you're ready for it. And to notice things, because something might not be a burn. You might think someone's yelling something awful at you, but they're yelling for you to do a certain poem. And I mistakenly thought they were hecklers at first. So a calm approach that is confident is way better than just, you know, that's a little easy.
Yeah, too easy. Doesn't go off well.
Although if someone approached a heckler with like, you know what, I think I would like that. I would think I'd be entertained by that. If they just, you know, your face is, I think I'd be entertained by that for sure.
Especially the longer they did it.
Yeah, if they did it a really long time.
Awkwardly. Like.
As if they were stuck in time and were locked and had a tick. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, to switch gears, I suppose. So you were saying you're #1 seller this year?
Yes.
It's been pretty much the #1 seller.
It's by a gay lady. It's actually this one, The Madness Face. It's been the
lesbian.
Oh,
I've heard that word before. I don't know.
I think gay means she's kind of a funny lesbian, though. This funny lesbian put out this book, The Madness Face, and it has been our #1 seller for 2 years in a row. And here's why: the gays love to support other gays. They're like Christians. If you say you're in a Christian band, you're going to sell 1,000 CDs just from your church alone, even though they haven't heard it. And
then if you're good,
you'll be a top seller 2 years in a row. The first year, they were just in the Church of Andrew Gibson. They're like, well, I'm supposed to buy this, supposed to put on a black hoodie. like this and wear what she wears and go to the show. And then the second year, people are like, oh, this is good. You got to buy this. Grandma, I'm going to mail this to you. And other people start to get into it. And her fan base is awesome and it's blowing up. And so it's impressive that a poet is selling as many books as she is.
Yeah, and you said that your top sellers are in the thousands. We're talking like 2,000 books per year.
Yes.
Now, compared to other kind of presses, I mean, other poetry presses, like, is that even possible for this, I mean, quote-unquote, literary page poetry? Are they selling 2,000 book copies?
They're not, and there's this thing called Ingram Page, I believe it's called, and if you have your books available through them, they'll show you the numbers of other presses and other book titles of what it's selling. So I can look at a book like Go the Fuck to Sleep, which was put out by a cool independent press, and it sells like crazy. You see these numbers go boop, 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 boop every month, and it dwindles a little, and it's still high selling. And so that might have been one of their first kids' books this indie press did, and it was good for them. But you can also see, like, how is Mary Oliver selling?
Yeah.
How is Thomas Luck selling? Not outselling Andrew Gibson, not outselling Anise Mojgani. And it makes you very proud. It's because they're doing the model of hitting the road and handing people the books and not being jerks and hiding backstage, but they go out and greet people, and it works. Yeah, I'm impressed. I didn't know if it would work.
It's based more on a model like musicians, where they go out and they put on a show. People line up afterwards and they eat it up. So that's where you probably sell most of your books, is actually at their performances. It
becomes a souvenir of an experience, and then you want to relive the experience, so you open it up. When you buy a book online, it's a gamble, and so the sales are a little bit lower. And what we found out was this awesome correlation between when an author hits the road, their online sales go up and their road sales go up. And the minute they go off the road, their online sales go back down to normal. So what happens is people start chatting and blogging, and then their sales go up. And so I tell everyone who runs a small press, I'm like, how many dates do you make your authors do every year? They're like, well, we're not a spoken word press. I was like, oh, we're not either. But we have a press where they have to write well on the page. In order to sell books, they have to read well out loud. And we found that has increased sales. And we're not interested in selling and making money. We're interested in having the writers possibly make a career out of this. And the only way is if people buy them, So we're trying to figure out everything possible. And that's one thing that for sure works.
So you don't really see Red Bloody as being a spoken word press?
I don't see it as being a spoken word press because I have seen spoken word artists whose stuff sucks on the page. And you can be like, you are really good, and thank you for this souvenir. I was so moved. I cried tonight at your show, and you read it, and you're like, oh, that just sounded good read really loud and fast. It's actually not something I'd ever read again when I was quiet and alone and could focus on the images. So everyone on the press are poets who read out loud. I think when you say spoken word artist, Reeves is a spoken word artist that said he would never put out a book because he likes the way it sounds, he likes the experience of the way his poems sound out loud, and I believe that's a legit art form. It's just different than saying, hey, I really tried to make these right for the page, I just happen to have this skill of being able to read them out loud also. And hunting those two worlds down and jamming them together is what this press is about.
Yeah, I could see that in books like Elena Ellis's, what is the Birdcage?
You're right about an empty birdcage.
Right about an empty birdcage. I mean, those aren't 3-minute poems when they're read aloud. Or Karen Finney Frock's incredible book that you have as well.
A sister's death, and you're like, that's not gonna woo a drunk audience, but she's read them in front of drunk audiences, and it quiets them down because she knows what to do. She doesn't hammer them with 30 minutes of grief, She knows how to ride a roller coaster. And so you get kind of proud of all these authors that start to learn it or already know how to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fantastic to have something like that that works in both worlds. I think your press and a lot of the books that you have are really walking that line between the literary world and the slam poetry world, which I think is incredible. It's bridging the gap between those two worlds, I think.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
It's interesting, whenever our authors, including myself, go to do a college, they'll say, can we pitch you as slam poet? And I will say, sure, if that'll get people there. But you know that a slam poet is someone who is a poet at a competition where people are holding up scorecards like a diving competition. There is not a type of poem which is a slam poem. There are poems that will win slams the minute you say, I was an underdog, and then I overcame it. Isn't that awesome? And that will win a slam, right? That's easy to write, and you can figure out the audience, and there's certain topics that are hard to not give a 10 to. And that is, anyone can win a slam if you go to a couple slams, you know. So the phrase slam poet is like saying, are you a library poet? You've read at a couple libraries, right? And you're like, well, I don't know what the hell that is. Yes, I am a library poet. You should check me out. Oh, that made a boner sound somehow. That's coming from my pants, of course.
Yeah, I really feel like... Oh, I did want to talk about your book.
Sure. The new one?
Yeah, this one.
Strange Light, yeah.
The Texas Poetry Book of the Year.
Yeah.
This is absolutely fantastic. So this, and that's an award, you know, that has nothing to do with spoken word or slam poetry.
No, and same with Kristen O'Keefe Aptos. She won the NEA. She won the Amy Clampett residency for her writing, and she's one of the funniest people you'll ever hear out loud, especially as poetry.
And she has how many books here? Like 6?
She has 6. Her newest one is her 6th book, and it's her best book called The Year of No Mistakes. It's really, really good, and it's about a breakup. And it's about cities. And it's about failure. Doesn't sound that fun, does it? But it is. It's good.
Sounds like a book of poems.
It's a good book of poems, man.
And she's hilarious.
Yeah.
No matter what she does.
She is.
No matter how sad.
She's got the energy of a dachshund. And
we might see her later.
She's taller.
But she's taller. She looked like...
Yeah. Flying over the cities, balloons strapped to her. Just turding on everything she doesn't like. That's right.
So, when you put this out? This year, last year?
Yeah, and
you put it out last year, and it won the award.
Yeah, it's
the Texas.
Yeah. Book
Award this year. So this, and you've put out a few of your books. How many books have you put out of your own?
Let's see, 4.
4.
Kristen has the most. Anise is close. Anise and Taylor are close.
It just amazes me that you can continue with your own writing, and you're writing your own books while you're running all of this, and you're making this happen for not just you, but for many other people and many other poets that wouldn't have gotten picked up on another publishing house. I mean...
Well, most publishing houses, when they look at a manuscript, they're just like, it's not like this other thing we have.
Exactly.
And what I do, when it's not submission time, is I travel and be like, you're doing this thing that you're natural on stage, you're a good performer, you probably write well, let me see the manuscript. So when I'm traveling doing my own writing, I kind of act like an agent. And I don't have to spend $50,000 hiring an agent to hunt down all of these people for me like a larger press. So... yeah, many hats.
Yeah.
To pull off of running a press.
Absolutely. Do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like you advertise yourself really well as both Derrick Brown and as Write Bloody? I don't know, do you feel like that's part of the key, is being able to do all these different jobs and really have that kind of networking that spans across not just your work, but many others?
I think that advertising or marketing is something all artists think is shitty. It's no fun. It's the no fun part of making stuff. But the minute you feel you're serious about trying to make a living at something where the public doesn't necessarily respect it a lot, it takes extra work. So anyone who's serious about it, I will tell them saying, hey, it's totally possible for you to make a living as a poet. You have to do some shitty things like put together press announcements and send them out. Or you can spend $2,000 and hire someone to work for you for a month, but you don't have that money. I don't have that money. So you got to figure out how to do it and be naive and ask people. And so the most essential thing is to not be ashamed at promotion. And the best way to do that is to feel proud of the work. The minute you go like, hey, I worked really fucking hard on this book, and I would love it after the show if you would come up and buy it. There's no shame in that, you know. But if anyone ever listened to punk rock or was a skateboarder or anything, it's kind of dumb to do that. But it becomes necessary when you're hungry, you know. So getting used to it is key.
Absolutely. I think that's all the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I just a lot of people might see this video and be like, hey, maybe I'll go check it out. But what would be awesome is if they would tell some other people to come check it out too. What a lot of people don't know is a lot of babes hang out in the shop during the day, and they're just reading, quiet, not sure who to talk to. And I think, you know, free cupcakes. We also have money giveaways most days. We can't say what time, but we come in. We're gonna give someone $50 every day. I can't say what time though. That's important.
December 2nd.
22nd.
December 22nd. That's exactly what I meant to say.
Drunk as hell.
Right Bloody on Cesar Chavez in Austin, Texas. We're gonna party. I hope you'll be there.
If you like $50, you'll be here all the time.
And hot girls that are reading and have nothing else to do.
Yeah. People like books, like fucking.
Oh my god, that's awesome. You cracked me up.